Hey YouTube, what's up? This is Olson here, and I'm going to make another guide on Adobe After Effects. This time I'm going to be adding to my previous video file or my previous tutorial of making a fire punch type effect, or a shadow punch or whatever. And I'm going to be adding, I was looking over it and I realized, you know what, this doesn't look that great. I want to add some more realism and definition to it. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. Alright, so let's open up After Effects, and here we have what we had before. You know, we got the smoke punch going on, all that great stuff. So how we're going to take care of this is using actual smoke elements rather than generating our own that have, you know, no division, no levels, no layers, no nothing. We're going to actually use smoke elements which do have those options. I brought in two separate ones. I've got one that's a video and one that's simply an image. We're going to work with the video first. I got them both from videocopilot.net, just so you know, which is a very good site for all of this kind of stuff. They give you great project files, tutorials, all that kind of stuff. They've got some great plugins. So anyway, we have this smoke particle type thing. It starts off, you know, it's a very simple thing. And so let's go back into our teleport attack composition, and let's bring in smoke hits. Let's just bring it to the bottom. We don't need to see it, so we can turn it off. Now we go back to our white solid, or whatever color you had, which has our particles. And let's go particle type, go to custom. Here's where it gets kind of fun. Now it will scroll down to this, so you can use layer, smoke hit straight. That's the one we used. This stupid thing will come up, but it doesn't really matter. Because, yeah, the size takes care of the entire thing. You'll notice this is, of course, pretty small. That's a very simple fix, you know, just bump up the size. And all of a sudden we have this. It's like a smoke particle hit type thing. It's the same effect, except now it's using an actual smoke particle, so it's got very nice blending, blurring, all that great stuff. Now we can, you know, in effects and presets, type in curves. Let's add this. Let's add this quickly to our white solid, and let's also add a tint. And we will work with both of these. First, the curves. Let's add some contrast here. We want to make it extra dark on the darks because that is it's very blurred on this particular one, so it'll make a difference. Then for tint, let's bring this down to not quite black, because then you'd lose a whole bunch of your definition, but go to both this, so yeah, now we've got the, that particular one. The life, let's bring this up a bit to like 2 seconds now. You know, sort of make them last longer. Because you'll notice, you know, these are not lasting the longest as long as they should. And size over life, you know, that's by default pretty large. You can mess around with this, you know. Add a fallout at the end. Just for the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to turn off the opacity. So yeah, that is using a particle. That's pretty much showing you how to use a custom particle, or you could use custom fill or custom colorize. I guess custom colorize would be simpler because you can set the color over life. So now it's also, so now you got the black and then the gray, and then you don't really need the tint. So yeah, I guess then we can just delete the tint, and there we have our particle. Unfortunately, it doesn't last too long because that's just the nature of this particular particle. Although, if it'll load quickly, we can go up and we can, increase the particles. Quickly go into here, particular emitter. Go to the particles per second gig. Just bump these up by a massive amount. That will make them last long enough. Unfortunately, around that one movement, they just all seem to disperse. But yeah, we've got that. Let's see, T opacity still there. I'm going to show you yet a different one that I kind of prefer personally. As much as I like the actual smoke effect, I'm going to use this one thing I got from videocopilot.net in one of their free tutorials. This smoke cloud thing. Now we have this smoke effect, and I'll show you why we brought it into a new composition. If I simply brought it right into here, and just let's see here, bring down the particles per second back down to like let's say 500. Go down to effects, emitter. Oh yeah, and just so you know, effects is E. Go back to there, 500. Reset that. Now custom colorize. It's still gonna be that, except now we'll use cloud PNG. Now we get to see this. My goodness, that's a lot bigger, so let's bump down the size quite a bit, about that. You'll notice now it doesn't have the issue of, dispersing after a while. But now you will also notice the issue. It looks kind of like the cloudlets again, just a little more detail on the outside. So yeah, it's not such a good solution. So let's go into here, and let's have some fun with this. First we select the layer, go to layer, auto trace, and the default setting should be fine. And what auto trace does is it takes the alpha away, and it pretty much makes a mask around the object. So this is great for green screening and stuff too. Now we hit F, brings up all our mask feathers. Sorry. Of course, we want to set all of our mask modes to add, because, well, that's why we made them. And our mask feathers, let's pump these up to about, let's see, 22 looks about good. So, give it a nice blur, because otherwise it looks kind of cheesy without the blur. And another thing we can do to it is, well, tint. We'll do that later. Let's go to Effect, Distort, and where is it? Liquify. So let's go to the Warp Tool options. Go to brush size. Pump this up quite a bit. Not that much. A little more than that. That's about good. And bump the brush pressure down to about there. you know, about half the default because you don't want it to move around too much. Let's turn off the masks, and basically we want to turn this into more of a puffy ball of cotton. You know, sort of round it out a bit more, make it look nicer. Okay, yeah, a little more. You know, now we got, you know, it's still organic, but it's a little more well-rounded, and that's always, it's always good. Let's see, and seeing as there's some inside ones, some inside masks, those let's bring down the feather a bit. Actually, yeah, let's just make them 22 again. Let's find the other inside mask. Okay, it's 2 and 3. Gonna select them both, and let's bring down all the mask options. In the expansion, pump this up to, let's see, 5. Not quite. Yeah, bring the mask expansion up a little bit. Yeah, seeing as like it's kind of this one section that just sticks out like a sore thumb. Then let's bring the brush size down a bunch. Sort of even this out, because yeah, that one little bit is really kind of annoying. It's going to be a major defining piece, which is not something we want, because we're just going to use this one cloud and it's just going to rotate a whole bunch and stuff. So we want it to look more organic than that. So if they all have this one very distinctive thing coming out, it's not the greatest thing. Now we can move our cloud smoke in, and now it's there. Turn it off again. Go all the way up, white solid. Go to custom colorize. Whatever. And then from layer, go to smoke cloud. As we see, that's a little bit big, so let's go to the size. That looks pretty good, I think. It's a pretty nice size. And seeing as I'm going to actually mess around with this, because if you want it to look a little more realistic, you know, you want it to fade out sort of at the end in size too, not only in opacity. I noticed that after the initial one, like the first installment of this, so you know, it doesn't have to be perfectly straight. Drawing a perfectly straight line with this is actually pretty hard, unless of course it's just across the top. Basically what this is doing is drawing an opacity or a size, depending on which one you're doing. There's also ones for opacity over life, same thing. So if we really wanted to, we could, you know, get rid of these, and we could just do it in here, you know, exact same effect. But this does it quite linearly. It would do it perfectly linearly, except for the fact that we added the wiggle in here. And if you're not caught up with this, you should totally check out the previous tutorial, so you would understand exactly all these settings that we already implemented into this project. So yeah, now we got the size over life, you know, bring it down a bit. But just as a recommendation, you know, have the absolute, like, the lowest point at, you know, the very like at near the very end, near the death section, and like the top is 100%, bottom is lowest is like 0%, pretty obvious. Don't make the amount too much, because, you know, we want it to be quite visible for most of the time. So now we have this, and you'll notice they get quite a bit smaller, and you'll notice we already put in the whole gravity and auxiliary system and all those things. Curves. Curves is nice. Let's add some curves to this, except not in here. Let's go back to the smoke cloud and go effects, color correction. Let's go down to curves. Let's add in some contrast here, because contrast is awesome. You know, give it that little bit more definition. Now colorize. Color over life, opacity. How do we set the opacity? So yeah, in alternative, if you want to, you know, actually mess around with the colors yourself, you can change this just to simply custom, and you'll have this. And then this is what I'm actually going to work with, because you know it's got some greater definition. Everything else is going to be the same for the rest of this tutorial. The only difference is if it's custom or custom colorize, you know, it's the same thing, except this one you don't get any definition in the actual cloud, unfortunately. So custom's the way I'm going to work with it, because that's why we added some contrast in there. You'll notice it looks pretty much the same throughout the entire thing, so that's why we go into physics. Let's see, spin amplitude and spin frequency. You know, you can mess around with these. I hate it when it does that. Physics model, you always want to have this on air. Bounce is a little weird. Okay, spin frequency and spin amplitude. You have to have at least a little bit of spin amplitude and spin frequency to have the spin at all. And now you'll notice they sort of spin around a bit more as they go. But now we want to go into the turbulent field, and you know, you add a little bit of effect size, but not a whole lot, because we don't want it to affect the size too much. Then effect position we do want it to have, because you'll notice it looks quite a bit better that way. As always, you can also lower the particles per second and change the space. You also notice here my masking is not exactly the greatest in the world. You know, I can just come in here and change this. That'd be recommended. Because, well, yeah, you don't want like this giant stupid region of blankness in there. It just looks pretty bad. But for the sake of this being a tutorial, I'm not going to spend too much time on that, because I've already shown you how to do that. So now we have this whole thing. Now we can, for the coloring, we can go into tint and add that. And this is how we can color it. You can go like fully black or whatever. Actually, let's add it to the cloud itself. And that's not going to work for the cloud itself. This is the cloud itself, sorry. Add a tint there. Put curves above it. You know, blacken it by, you know, a fair amount. Not too much. You can turn on the alpha and see what you're doing more. Now you turn back to here. Make sure our tint is gone. Yeah, it's gone. So there you have this. If you look closely, like, it's got great definition. It's starting to repeat itself a little too much. We can fix that quickly by going into, I believe it's particle, and we have rotation. Move the rotation speed up to, like, let's say 2, 5, whatever. And then Alt click on the stopwatch on rotation. Type in wiggle. Parenthesis. Say 1090. So that means like 10 times a second it will move randomly by 90 degrees, up to 90 degrees. So now they move around quite a bit. I guess that's pretty active actually. Let's change that down to 40. Bring off the movement a little bit, and I think that looks pretty good. Give it some more definition, some more reality. We could also have some particles coming out of it, which we can certainly take a look at. There's also Video Copilot. You could add in optical flares, which would be pretty stinking cool. Well, we can go over that in a couple seconds. First, particles. Just simply type in particle, and let's go with particle world. I believe this is one we're wanting to work with, but I guess of course first we have to add a new solid layer solid. Particle world. Now you have this. This is a Cycore Effects plugin, so if you want to use this, you have to get the Cycore Effects plugin, which it's not exactly the hardest thing to get. We don't exactly want the grid. It won't show up in the final render, but you don't need it really, because the longevity, which is how long they last, that is going to be cut down, so it's never even gonna matter if it reaches the floor or not. So now we can go back to our original white solid, or white solid 2, which, yeah, whatever, and we can go to position, or no, sorry, in our effects section, the position XY coordinates. So I guess we hit E, particular, emitter, and the position XY. Copy all of these, or you can simply just select it, copy them all, and go to producer, and the position X and the position Y, hit the stopwatches, and go into E for here, producer, position X. It doesn't work. Can't paste spatial data on temporal data. Crap. Right, it's not X and Y. So anyway, I guess you'll have to custom select this, the producer, the X and the Y. We don't need these scrubbers. I don't know why we have them on there, but whatever. The particle itself, we don't want it to be yellow and red. The birth color, it's obviously when it's created. I guess seeing as we're doing like a smoke type thing, let's have black, and then at the end let's have it sort of a grayish. Size variation, let's make them vary quite a bit. Particle type, let's go shaded sphere, or no, that's not shaded enough. Faded sphere, yeah, that's the one we're looking for. Bring the depth size down to about half, so it gives that it fades out effect. Where's the physics? Physics, the gravity should be negative, say negative 0.3. That should be about good. So then they'll actually, you know, go up into the sky, which is pretty cool. And it's pretty much all we need for this. Velocity, let's bring this up a bit. Not too much. Explosive, you could also change this to twirl, which would be really cool. And I'll show you both of them actually. Explosive, let's go with that first. So now let's duplicate this layer actually, because I want to work with the twirl. Actually, no, not quite duplicate it yet. But first we do have to mess around with the position X and Y of the producer, which will take a while, so I will cut the footage here. And actually, I'll first show you how to do it. So first position, make sure we're in the right spot. Shouldn't start till, I guess you should also, you know, cut it to the right lengths. That would be rather important. So yeah, cut your new white solid to the right lengths. Now we should mess with position X and Y, which is going to be not very fun. So yeah, I'm gonna cut the footage and I'm going to take care of that, and I'll see you in a couple seconds. Alright, so I am back and I have completed this, you know, this long, very annoying issue we have here, which happens to do with like positioning these particles, because unfortunately with CC Particle World it doesn't have a great positioning system. You have to custom do both the X and the Y instead of just doing them all at once, and you can't just click on the area and drag it. You have to custom define it. So you know, for instance, if I wanted to move it here, suddenly I need to do, you know, mess around with the X and the Y. This is the Y, of course, and this is the X. But yeah, you have to mess around with that frame by frame until it works, unfortunately, because that's just the way this particular program is set up, or this plugin. I also set the birth rate kind of high because I found it easier to mess around with. So let's go into effects and turn that down a lot. Turn this way down to, let's try 2.7. Solo. And let's turn the birth rate up a little bit. So you know, it's visible. We don't want it to be too visible because our main issue is the main smoke particles. But we've got these. We also want to go into T, and I also copied the opacity, but I want to bring it down quite a bit from even there. Let's go like 45. So you know, you can't really see them, but they are there. Also with the physics, I'm going to lower the gravity even more to like negative 700. So they do have that, you know, fly upwards. And yeah, let's increase the velocity. Actually, let's decrease the velocity a little bit. Now let's duplicate it, and let's quickly go to the physics and turn the gravity down to like negative 100. And let's put this underneath the solid 2. And for for it. Yeah, it's the producer. No, physics, I guess. Explosive. Go to vortex. Vortex goes straight up. Twirl. Fire you could do, but I don't know. That's more of a fire punch type effect. If that's what you're looking to do, that's fine. I actually think that looks kind of good. I was thinking of doing more of the twirl, where, you know, it twirls around, but you could do fire as well. You know, it's a little more connected. Yeah, also bring the velocity down a bit. So yeah, let's unsolo this. So now we've got both of these effects. T of this one. Let's bring the opacity down even more. And the opacity on this one can be like 50-ish. The exact numbers don't exactly matter because with the wiggle effect, it's not too big of a deal. Also, for these, you want to, you know, mess around with the size randomness. So because yeah, that size does matter. Longevity, you don't want them to live too long because you know it's smoke. You kind of want them to, you know, go off and die. That just sounds kind of evil, but it's true. Max opacity. Yeah, let's keep it at about 70. Camera, we're not even going to bother with. Yeah, that's about it. Actually, I'm going to completely rework this stupid opacity because it doesn't like me. Actually, not for all of them. I want to keep the middle one. Yeah, let's have this go about 40. Let's have this one at about 50-ish. So there we've got that. Motion. CC force motion blur. No. I want to blur though. You know, add a little lens blur to it. I think, yeah, that would work pretty good. Or vector blur. Let's try vector blur for the fire, because vector blur is a really interesting effect. It would work really good on the fire. And seeing as this one particularly is a smoke, you know, let's go into the particle itself. Give this a little bit of a red tint. Not a lot, but a little bit. So now we have this, and you know, let's bump the opacity up a little bit more so you guys can see. Actually, I'll just full out the opacity so you guys can see, and then now I'll just bring it up back to like 60-ish and unsolo it. So yeah, now we've got this. I'll bring it actually above. So now we've got like sort of this veiny fire type thing. I'll actually give it a little more brightness in the fire. There we go. I like that. Maybe a little more. You know, we want it to show up and look good. The death color. Let's give it a little red tint as well. And the longevity of this one, we could bring it up a little bit. So you know, now we've got this fire sort of source to this power. And also for this one, or sorry, which white solid was I working on? Ah, crap! No, don't change the opacity. I guess it's not really a big deal. For this one, let's go into, let's give it a lens blur. This one deserves a lens blur, and lens blur basically gives it a pretty organic look. It's loading for a second. Lens blur, it's more of an organic look to it. Let's bump up the opacity so you guys can see a little bit better. Iris, let's blur it out to 35. Looks really good. See how it's unsolo that, and the opacity, let's bring it to 75 because it's pretty blurred. So now we got all these great parts to it that make it look pretty good. So that is the end of this tutorial. I also recommend working a bit more on the masks, but I don't have the care to do it right now because that doesn't really matter. But yeah, now we've got this more detail in the smoke itself. I taught you a little bit of certain different types of adding smoke elements themselves instead of just using cloudlets. We worked a little bit with some of the blurs. Vector blur is a really interesting effect. It's got so much stuff to it. It's going to need like an entire video itself just to understand it. I actually want to add a little bit of vector blur to this. Very small amount. There we go. Look a little better. I taught you also about the auto trace feature, which is pretty nice. I taught you CC Particle World, which is a Cycore effect plugin. We worked in several different fields today, and if you have any suggestions, questions, anything, let me know. I should be able to help you. So until next time, it's Olson signing off. Bye.